going to be a hot one. We got a lot of work ahead of us. We're going to be working on a York package unit that should have been changed. Actually, it was supposed to be changed. We were in the process of getting cranes arranged and everything to change the whole unit, and then politics got involved and it turned into a disaster, and now we got to do anything and everything we can to try to repair it. So last I looked at it was 6 months ago, and it had a massive evaporator coil leak, or multiple. It was in a place where I couldn't get it, so we got multiple technicians coming out. We're gonna pull the entire evaporator coil out and do whatever we can to fix it. So let's see what we can get on video.
This video is brought to you by Sporlan, quality, integrity, and tradition.
So I've shown this in another video before, I think sometime last year, but this is my culprit. We have a leak on, I believe it's the first stage of the evaporator, I think. We're gonna open this guy up. I was actually surprised that it's still running, so that means maybe half the unit is working. Open this guy up and see. Yeah, we got an error. Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You go down here, 5 flashes, low pressure switch, compressor 1 lockout. Okay, we've got this guy pulled open, and we're going to get some nitrogen and some 410A so we can pressurize it because it's completely flat. And then hopefully, it'd be neat if we can get to the leaks without pulling the evaporator, but I planned on pulling the whole evaporator, so we'll see. All right, the leak detector's picking it up on this bottom row down here, but I, for the life of me, am not seeing the leak with soap bubbles. So it could be in the coil. I'm currently just blasting this thing with nitrogen. I could kind of care less right now. But yeah, it is. But I can't hear it. So it could be in the coil on the other side too. But I picked it up on this bottom row. I'm gonna go ahead and spray up higher too, just to see if it's anywhere up higher. I kind of might see oil down here, but this thing's also been flat for a while, so I don't know about that. But yeah, it's tricky finding it. All right, we've got the unit opened up and we can actually hear the leak, and it's over here somewhere. I can feel it. Oh dude, it feels like it's in the coil. I don't know though. What a mess these York units are. Okay, we were able to get it somewhat apart, and I know the leak's right down here. It doesn't feel like a screw hole. I don't feel any damage via a screw hole or anything like that, which is scary because why would the copper blow out like that? Maybe a screw ran next to something and it's been rubbing for a long time, but there's no screws in that area, so I don't know. We're currently trying to see what we can do to get this back panel off. The problem is that there's a side shot duct for the supply, so. All right, so it's right down here. I know this is gonna be hard to see, but it's just crappy copper. There's no hole, it's just real thin. That's gonna be a pain in the ass to weld because it's gonna flare out. We're having to cut some stuff down here to try to give ourselves more access. All right, I am doing everything we can to not pull this evaporator. It's leaking right here. There's no screw holes, no anything. It's just bad copper, so it's not going to be an easy weld because I'm afraid the copper is going to flare. So it's going to be interesting. There's also an imperfection right there, but I don't know what. The thing is that this is multi-circuited, so I don't know where the first and second stage is because they're like intertwined. So we're letting the nitrogen out at the moment. We're going to try to braze this leak and then go one leak after another. We already had cut a hole in here because we thought we were going to pull the duct, but we'll end up patching this. Not going to be perfect. Customer knows. They only want us to do whatever we can do to get it operating. I'm going to do this a little different. I'm going to get the solder up here, and I'm trying not to heat that spot yet until I get solder there. So we've got this guy, we changed the dryer real quick and we have it pressurized to about 296 PSI. And that could be residual though. So we're gonna hit it with bubbles. It very well could be residual oil. Or there could just be multiple leaks. Who knows with this thing. Right at the bottom of this guy right here, there's a micro cluster of bubbles. So it still has a tiny leak down there, I believe. It's gonna be an absolute miracle if this unit goes back together. We have this thing so jacked up. It's crazy. Letting the nitrogen out right now so I can try to lay another braze, try to clean up that joint. What a mess, right? It's crazy. And we don't even know if this is the only leak. I mean, if the copper's that thin down there, it might be that thin up here too. Who knows? Now, we're leaking on this one. So we're trying to find out if that's our same stage or not. So we're letting the nitrogen out, and if the leaks stop, then we know that's the same stage. If they don't, we're gonna have to recover the other stage. This is gonna be one thing after another on this guy. Ended up having to braze that joint too, so let's see. I've got it pressure testing right now. I've got about, I don't know, 200 PSI of nitrogen with a little chaser of 410A, so that way we can do an electronic leak search. I don't have high hopes. We might have to delete the circuit. That's my next plan if I have to. Put some big blue on there. I'm not seeing any leaks. The electronic still picks up a trace every once in a while, but I think it's residual oil because I can't pick it up. I wouldn't be surprised if I create other leaks too. There's nothing there. There's no leaks, no bubbles. So I think we might get the vacuum pump on this guy. Hope that it takes. We got the dryer already replaced, so at some point I'm just gonna have to stop. But now there's another leak right there. At some point, see, again, backstory guys, I told them to replace this. The coil's like 8 weeks out or something like that, and they need it fixed. But now there's another freaking leak. Good grief, one of these times it's not gonna be on the first stage, and I'm gonna have to recover the charge from the second stage. This is pissing me off. All right, every time I get in there, I create another leak. So this time, I need to braze that last joint. I put Viper wet rag, and hopefully that stops from overheating everything else. Try to put a smaller tip on my torch too. I'm starting to get irritated. We are evacuating the first stage, the one that I did a bunch of leak repairs on, but we found another leak. That other leak was the second stage. So we went to go recover. I haven't brazed on it yet, but we're recovering the charge for the second stage. And here's my problem. I'm about recovered, and there's only 3 pounds in there. So the second stage already originally had leaks in it too. I didn't even know that. But was weird, the second stage was running when I got here. So only the first stage was off on low pressure. The second stage was still running. But yeah, as we're recovering, this thing takes 6 pounds of gas. See, it's only recovered almost 3 pounds. So crazy, man. So we're changing the dryer here in just a second. We're getting it sanded up, and then just recovering. Good grief, man. Let us cross our fingers. That is a goober of a joint, but I'm just about out of nitrogen, so I've already gone through 2 bottles pressurizing this thing, so let's hope. I think I might have enough to pressurize it once or twice more, and that's it. We're currently changing the dryer, but hopefully that wet rag stuff helped to keep the other joints safe. All right, well, so far it passes the test. No leaks. Good grief, man. And we're not getting anything else as of yet. I'm vacuuming down the first stage. The second stage is just pressurized. So, all right. Well, we're gonna put this back together and walk away with blind eyes. Well, we're just cleaning off all the heat blocking compound. Still got a little bit left up in there, but that's it. Hopefully that does. So there was a good double road insulation. We went ahead and glued that insulation back to that panel with spray adhesive right there. Again, this is just polishing a turd, and then sealed it back up, sealed up the hole down there that we had cut, and we're slowly just putting the unit back together, pulling an evacuation. This is a process, and honestly, I'm not even gonna give them a warranty on this because this could fail tomorrow for all I know. This thing, that evaporator's so pitted out. It's a miracle this thing actually went back together. It's crazy. We got all the panels back in and everything. If you ask me what my least favorite unit in the world is, right now this one's winning. We're evacuating the second stage right now. That actually already pulled down to like 700 microns, and then I put it into a decay test and it rose up, so I pulled it back down again. I've already vacuumed down the first stage. We're getting ready to charge it up. I just needed to get the unit together so we could start it up, because we're more than likely gonna have to turn it on to get all the gas in. So I'm still pulling down on the second stage, but what I did was I valved off the second stage, hooked up the process hose from this guy to the vacuum pump and evacuated all the way up to the ball valves. That way I had clean hoses. Then I opened them up, took it off, all that good stuff. So we're zeroed out. We got the scale down there. We're looking for 6 pounds of refrigerant, and I'm hoping I can get the full charge in here, but I'm not feeling too lucky about it. So yeah, we're ready to charge right now. 6 pounds of gas is the total charge. See how much it takes. And we're about to take the full charge right now. Sweet. So first stage took the whole charge. That's good. And then we're gonna get ready to do second stage right now. The unit is running. We still have a wet condenser. Our head pressure is a little bit low, but it's operating. It has a great TD. It's got good subcooling, but again, everything's skewed because we're running low head pressure. So, and that subcooling's whack too because I'm not getting liquid line pressure. I'm getting discharge line pressure. So far, just on the first stage, it's looking fine. 60-degree supply, 90-degree return. These have probably have pressure limiting expansion valves too, so that's why we don't have skyrocketing head or suction pressure right now. 95 degrees outside right now. We're gonna let it run for a little while, dry off that condenser, make sure everything's good, and then I'll switch over to the second stage and make sure everything's good with that. All right, we're up and running. Now, I told them that we still need to change the evaporator coil. This is just to get them going, basically. I want to change the condenser too because you see how bad it is. This was like this when I took over the store. Has to do with that exhaust fan being right there, and it gets greasy all the time, so people have probably been cleaning it with the wrong cleaners. But this will get them by for now. I don't know how long it's going to last with the way that those leaks were popping up every time I heat up in there. This is what it takes to do all those repairs. Got our entire vans up here.
All right, this was an exhausting day. Started super early because I knew it was going to be hot. Had a couple service technicians go out to the job site. I kind of already had a plan in my head, and my original plan was I was going to pull that entire evaporator out, lay it onto a folding table, and pressurize it with nitrogen and just start brazing leaks. In hindsight, it probably would have been a better idea to go ahead and do that. I did not because I was lazy. And when I got in there, I was like, man, I really don't want to be cutting this evaporator out. It would just added so much more work, having to find places to put couplings, and just would have been a headache. So it probably would have been better because I literally could have brazed on every joint if I did that. Oh well, I didn't. We did everything we could. We cut the unit up, butchered that thing, right? Cut holes in it and everything, and brazed up the leaks. The problem was as I was brazing one leak, then it created another leak, and then it ended up creating a leak on the second stage, which isn't the one that I was repairing. So we fixed that. Now, I finally got smart towards the end and grabbed the Viper wet rag heat blocking compound, put it all over there, and then changed the tip. One of my technicians was like, hey dude, you need to change the tip to a smaller tip. So I changed it to a 0 tip from a number 2, and it was much more precise, and the heat really was centered on the joint. So I got to give him props for that. That was a big help on that one. I don't like brazing with those small tips. I like to use the number 2 because it does everything I need, but in that situation, it was just creating more problems. Now, the extra leaks, they weren't my fault. The coil is trashed, okay? And what happened was I gave them a quote, and I said, hey, you need to change the evaporator coil, and I suggested they change the condenser because of how bad a shape it was in. But when they saw that, they said, hey, let's just replace the unit. Now, this particular customer buys their own equipment, okay? That's how most chain restaurants work. So this particular customer was going to buy a Linux package unit. But the Linux was going to be problematic, and they actually approved it, and they went through with everything. And it came down to us getting a crane. And when we got the crane, then the customer, it just turned into a big, giant disaster of getting approvals, structural permits, because the new unit was going to be heavier. It just went down the California permit process disaster that it becomes. Okay, California is a nightmare when it comes to changing equipment. So people ask me all the time, hey, how come you change this equipment? Why don't you change it? It would be cheaper to sell them a new unit. No, it wouldn't. In California, this was a 7.5 ton unit. I bet you anything this unit would cost close to 20 grand to change. Probably close, if not more. Okay, and the politics that get involved is it's just safety kind of stuff. So basically the new unit was probably going to weigh about 200 or 300 pounds more, plus it was going to need a curb adapter, which was another 200 or 300 pounds, okay? So you're talking 400 to 600 extra pounds on the roof. Well, The planning department and everybody wants you to get a structural engineer to say that the building is sound and can handle that extra weight in that particular spot. Then on top of that, if there's any issues with the building in general, when the code inspector comes out to inspect the work after you're done working, it just leads to Pandora's box. And therefore, the customer, when it turns into that kind of stuff, most of the time they don't end up replacing the unit, and that's what happened here. It was just going to be crazy expensive, and it basically didn't have a price tag. It was just going to get crazy. So this is what happens, okay? The city and the planning departments, they make it so difficult for these customers to replace equipment, and it just turns into a disaster. It's just a political nightmare, okay? So in that situation, the customer came to me and said, hey, let's just repair the unit. So I started looking into just getting a replacement evaporator, because the condenser they couldn't even locate at this time. But the evaporator alone was going to be like 6 to 8 weeks, and they didn't want to wait that long. So they wanted me to go out and just do whatever I could to get it operational, okay? I don't know how long it's going to last. I couldn't tell them if it's going to last a week. I couldn't tell them if it's going to last a year. It's so hard to say because the copper in there is so thin. It's just a nightmare. All right. So I did everything that I could. We changed both the liquid line filter dryers. We put Sporlan catch-alls on there. Just went through it, and it held a vacuum. It held a pressure test. It did a leak inspection with the electronic leak detector. I mean, I didn't pick up any other traces of leaks, but I got to tell you that I was cringing when I hit that power button once I charged the unit back up. It was just like, oh, please don't leak. And then I went back with the leak detector again. I was thinking, should I get the leak detector out again, or do I just play like like an idiot or something? But I got it out just because my gut was telling me, just do it again, and I was afraid to turn it on, but I did. And I went back there after it ran for a while, and no other leaks or anything. So it's just a nightmare, guys. This one just wore me out. It was actually today. I'm exhausted. So it's 5:18 on September 2nd right now. And I left my house this morning at about 4:45. It's been a long day. I'm tired. I need to go eat dinner. And hopefully you guys enjoy this video. They don't always turn out perfect. We got to do what we got to do. And of course I would have loved to have changed that unit, but I just do what I'm told, kind of. All right. I really appreciate it. Catch you guys Monday evenings, 5 p.m. Pacific on YouTube. If you guys are considering, on my live stream, basically. If you guys are considering purchasing any tools, do me a favor and go to TrueTechTools.com. Use my offer code BIGPICTURE, one word. You'll save 8% on your order. I get a small commission, so it's a way that you guys can help to support the channel. Also, we have merch available. Hopefully by the end of this week, I'll have large, extra large, and small, medium hats back in stock. I believe right now I'm pretty much out of all the hats, but I still have shirts available, plenty of shirts. And then stay tuned, because in the coming weeks, I will be releasing beanies on my website too for the winter time. So those will be there soon. Also, Friday evenings around 6-ish p.m., I go live with the HVAC Overtime crew. A-Team Adam, HVACR North, Joe, Curious HVAC guy Bill, and myself, and we just kind of bullshit and talk about whatever on their HVAC Overtime YouTube channel. So definitely see you guys there too. Okay, we'll catch you on the next one.